MARTA, people have been demanding that MARTA expand beyond Bankhead into Proctor Creek, but it never has because they say there's not enough, it's too economically depressed to go there. But for a business, they'll partnership and go there. So it's not just, it's more than that, it's the business, it's the corporations that affect MARTA.
The 1%.
And I would tie what you two are saying together because in Dr. Bullard's book, Highway Robbery, Dr. Bullard is a transit researcher at the Environmental Justice Research Center. What he found is that yes, MARTA did expand north, and it typically provides better service to the north end than it does to the south and east-west parts of the city because they're white and affluent. But what we have to understand is that that Bankhead line and even what folks want to do out east is of greater need. We have more transit-dependent riders in those areas, more people of color in those areas. But yet, MARTA doesn't, it chooses not to serve these communities. And that's another aspect that not only is there this attack on our public transit system and this underfunding of MARTA, but one of our key demands is that we got to have new leadership at MARTA. The people who are currently in control are making bad decisions. They're making decisions that are going to drive MARTA into the ground. So the people who decided that MARTA is going to cooperate with the Beltline, they need to be held accountable. The people who decided, at MARTA to cut services and raise fares need to be held accountable. So our campaign, our charter campaign, is not just about getting funding for MARTA, because we understand that MARTA as it is now is still kind of racist, in a racist manner, distributing the resources more up north than where the need is. What we have to do is also create new leadership for MARTA so that we have the right people making decisions. But all of this depends on us creating a movement here in this city. And we think our charter campaign that deals with issues around healthcare, housing, education, and transit is the vehicle by which we can build a movement here in the city to deal with these public sector issues. Wait, hold on. Was there somebody else? I think I heard. Anybody? On this side? Okay. Go ahead, Ted.
Okay. I just want to make two comments. One, the money that's allocated under the planning for our area in terms of MARTA development or just transit development, in terms of rapid transit or anything related to mass transit, 600 million goes to the Beltline, 300 million goes to a line that connects Lindbergh and Emory. Now think a moment. Emory getting tax money, Emory has a foundation, an endowment worth billions of dollars. 300 million to Emory is nothing. It's spit in a small bucket. They could afford to do it if they wanted. That would be a kind of privatization that people might appreciate, but that's not what they want. They want $300 million from the public trough. If you study the development of MARTA historically, it has always geared towards the white side of town and serving its interests. And that's why the original system was designed. I remember fighting it then, I was one of the few that fought it at that time, because it clearly was only intended to deal with the after effects of white flight, which is what was occurring as a result of integration and the change in the political power structure of Atlanta. They wanted desperately to save a white penetration of downtown, and so they wanted to build these lines, but build them in a way that they would be generally used by whites and not by blacks, because they were not accessible to blacks. They destroyed a lot of the bus routes, even then, and they've been destroying more since, which were the connecting linkage. They refused to have circular routes, and that's why people for a while were fooled about the Beltline. But if you really study the Beltline, this is the second point I wanted to make, it doesn't move people. It's a street-level trolley that moves a very small number of people going shopping in fancy stores and having tea and coffee in fancy little restaurants.
Can't connect to the MARTA though?
It does connect to the MARTA, but it's a very,
that's my main thing.
it's a very minimal connection.
To the MARTA that takes me somewhere that I need to go. It's like taking a bus, which you already said is
It's a very minimal connection. If they really seriously wanted to move a lot of people, they would design it fundamentally differently.
And I would say, what is that? And what is that minimal connection to MARTA worth?
Right.
Is it worth destroying black families, black communities, neighborhoods, and pushing folks out? Is that minimal connection worth that? I would argue that it isn't.
Was public housing really that successful over the past 30 years? Has it been really, really successful?
Did you talk about?
Is public housing really, really successful since, like, for the past 30 years?
Oh, whose right is it to destroy it?
No, I'm not saying, but it was the way public housing was developed 30 years ago successful for people as a system.
Yeah, I mean, the number one success of public housing is that it prevented homelessness.
Complex.
Well, you're asking a question he's trying to answer.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
I said the number one success of public housing is it prevented homelessness.
Yeah.
I think that by itself has value.
So, can I go back to, I guess we'll call it done in this whole scenario around MARTA and what I call ruling class transit planning, really. So we live in a state where 41 out of 50 states in America provide operating assistance. Well, MARTA is one of the 9 that doesn't receive any operation assistance from the state of Georgia. But not only is it our MARTA here in Atlanta, it's every single transit operator in the state of Georgia, which there may be 106 of statewide. So in this huge economy's default, what we've heard is people are shot and the economy is doing bad. So has anyone asked themselves, well, if everything is tied to a sales tax now, and the best proposal that we can come up with is tied into a sales tax in the future, how will this alleviate the situation that we're already in sometime in the future? To get back to someone's statement over here, I don't think the Beltline is actually going to be ever finished either, because I think Tasim Reed is saying how it's going to be something continuous. But the evidence for me is when I heard Amber talk about Proctor Creek, because what was happening there is where they had to lie to people to get their votes. So there's that station at Bankhead that was never meant to go any further. But if you want to see the rest of the incompleteness of MARTA, just take a stroll up Peachtree. Enter the Peachtree Center MARTA station on the far side of the street and stop. Take the stairs all the way down and see that huge diagram on the road. On the wall for what MARTA actually proposed. And I think that may be like the second or the third map, not the original map. But it shows the historic transit racism, because at that time what happened is, and it's still current today, that the heaviest ridership was along that east-west corridor. And that, I believe, is your question, is then how do we relieve congestion? Well, we know where the bottlenecks are around Metro Atlanta, so the plans that's proposed is not to relieve congestion, but it's to make money. And we need to be open and honest about that. And the state has gotten away with not contributing to transit for its citizens all over the state of Georgia. So the Beltline, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, won't be any different. And it's another route to relieve you of your working capital.
I want to make another comment because I'm glad you're playing devil's advocate, because this is what happens. These are the kind of conversations that happen that usually don't happen in public, where folks say, this green space, well, public housing didn't work anyways, and all these other things that they're hearing from the corporate media as an excuse to get rid of people's homes and to run new for their corporate projects. But the contradiction and the irony to these arguments is that if you look around Atlanta and in the suburbs and the exurbs of Atlanta, who lives out there, and you look at the governments out there and the politics out there, it's all conservative. And so who do they want to move in? when they kick poor folks out, they want them to move in. And those folks are not going to give you the progressive things that you think this is going to, when they get here, who are they going to vote for? Are they going to vote for progressive politicians and for progressive policy? The same people in Cobb County and in Henry County and in Forsyth? They're not doing it out there. So what magically is going to happen when they bring those people in? And that's who's going to come in. That's who's been coming in. I mean, the reason we've had Democratic, and I'm not a Democratic Party person at all, but the reason we've had, to the degree that we've had administrations that haven't been all out right-wing, have been because of black voters. Let's be real. And they're being pushed in all directions. The people who are going to come in are not going to vote for more green space. They're not going to vote for alternative fuel solutions. None of that. They're going to vote for more roads, more Humvees, all this, the same things they do where they live at now. And so, while I hear what you're saying, this ultimately works against even what you want.
And I would add, the Beltline is not going to relieve congestion on the freeways. It's not. The only thing that can relieve congestion on our freeways in our cities is a really robust metropolitan transit system. And the only one we got right now is MARTA. So we need to be building that up if we want fewer cars on the road, right? Did somebody have to hear?
Well,
I'm sorry, let me go to this guy right here. I have to.
okay. Well, a lot of people seem to be really pointing out some of the proposed benefits of the Beltline. But I think it's important to realize we don't have to have gentrification to have those. And we probably, if we go about trying to get those things this way, we probably won't get them anyways. Historically, it's more effective if you keep it private or public sector than if you let it go private sector. And really right now, the Beltline's not at all about transportation, from what I understand. It's about gentrification. So just because we shoot down the Beltline doesn't mean we're not going to improve public transportation. It means we'll actually improve it in ways that will be helpful to the members.
I think that's a great segue, because I think if the RC or OA decides to take on the Beltline and win, you will help the cause of public transportation, because all those resources and energy have to find some place to go now. And the best place they can go is MARTA, right? But I want to hear from you about that idea. I mean, do folks here think that this is a campaign that you and others can get behind, stopping this privatization tide? Because I also want to encourage you to consider, in addition to taking on the Beltline, the other piece of this puzzle is the Transportation Investment Act that's going to give $600 million to the Beltline. So if you want to stop the Beltline, you have to also start to deal with this TIA. That's part of what's choking off Atlanta and MARTA, right? But, I mean, what do people think? I mean, we can have the strategic and tactical question about how to deal with the Beltline, at some other point. But do people believe that this is a campaign that the RC and or OA should take on? The RC is this radical caucus of the Occupy Atlanta.
Okay, so I apologize. I missed the first 20